Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. With me here is Guzmán Galloway, CEO and strategist at the Clarity Wizard. We will be discussing why brand positioning matters in the consumer packaged goods industry. Actually, I shouldn't have revealed that now, but now you know the CPG industry. I know you guys are ready, so let's do it. Kathy, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited to be here with you.
Absolutely. I was going to tease the CPG there, but I gave it away, which
It's
is
okay.
okay. So I'm really excited about what we're about to discuss today. That industry is changing. That industry, as we were speaking off the mic, is something that, for better or for worse, I envy a lot. So we'll definitely see how it goes. But before then, let's focus on you. Tell us about yourself, your background, and how you've done so well.
Yes, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've been in the CPG world now 20 years. I keep saying that I'm never going to say more than 20 years because then you'll know how old I am. So from this point forward, 20 years, that's my my experience. And I started really my career properly in CPG in the PepsiCo world. And I was there 8, 9 years. Really tough at the time. It's a really tough organization, but such a great place to just get that foundational, classic CPG brand management training
Mhm.
that really put me on the course for the rest of my career. And then the last 11 years in particular, I have been a consultant. I started a consultancy in 2013. And I've had the opportunity to work with all kinds of brands, all in CPG, really heavy in food and beverage. And I guess I should note for your audience who may not know CPG, consumer packaged goods, as you mentioned it. And that
Mhm.
the short way I describe that is anything you'll find at a Walmart, with the exception of clothing or more durable goods. So that's going to be food, beverage, beauty, household goods, cleaning products. Um, those are typically the things that consumers are moving through and internationally more typically called fast moving consumer goods because
Yes, I was going to say, I'm sorry to interrupt you. In Nigeria, it's called FMCG. Yes.
yes, and probably a better name for it because really the key of it is that it's moving quickly because you're buying it every week, every month, and that's kind of a really important component of what that category is that
Yeah.
impacts how you market it, how you strategize around it, and we can talk more about that in a minute. And so my expertise has always been in brand management. In the last few years, I've really pivoted and bullseyed a lot closer into brand positioning as my true expertise,
Yeah.
which is a finite idea that actually touches everything for the organization and certainly for the brand and the products that you sell. Um, and I guess the secret to my success has really been about making things easy, simple, effective for my clients. The way that I work with clients one on one is to take that off of their plate because, as
Yeah.
you know, working as a leader in an organization means, unfortunately, the higher up you go, you think you're spending more time on strategy, but actually, there's so much work to be done that what you're really doing is spending time checking everybody else's work.
Yeah.
And so you often miss out on the opportunity to have those strategic moments of clarity and of thinking, and that's where I really come in and help my clients get the strategic thoughts out of their brain and really articulate it in a way they can feel good about. And yeah, and I feel like I've been really successful the last 11 years as a consultant, and I absolutely love the work I do. So that makes it work for me.
Yeah, I knew it's very obvious that I envy what you do. It's very awesome. I like what you mentioned in terms of bullseye. So today I bullseye into two things. Again, because of what might happen after 20 years. Like you said, now you've capped your mentions to 20 years. Maybe I'll just dye my hair and then continue to mention 20 years as well. But there is the part you mentioned there about your experience in the ship CPG world. And like I said, back to the things I own in today is strategy and podcasting or podcast marketing. A bit not connected, but my feeling is that at some point in my career, I may need to like just stick to strategy. But for now, podcasting is doing great, and I have a lot of passion for it. I have an incredible expertise in it, so I can also still enjoy that, and it's evident on my LinkedIn profile that I have those two in there. But one also is good for strategy is that sometimes we ask very weird creative questions. And as we are just speaking now, I became curious. Would you classify CPG under direct to consumer or business to consumer or business to customer? Don't know what the C.
Yes, and you mean the CPG, the industry?
Yeah, the industry, yes.
Yeah, it's yes and because CPG or FMCG is really a term that just encompasses anything we're bringing to the consumer and in the ecosystem of fast moving goods,
Mm,
regardless of how it gets to them. So
okay.
whether you're directly distributing that in a direct consumer model on your own site or maybe through e-com and on
Like
Amazon
Amazon.
or
Yeah.
Alibaba or wherever you're doing it, or you're going through a retailer, in which case you're selling into a Walmart, a Kroger, an Aldi or what have you,
Mm,
the end result is the same. It's the same audience, the same intent. So go to market strategy is really irrelevant in that context.
yeah, that makes sense. And thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Okay, so my selfish questions out of the way. Now it's time for the audiences to enjoy the episode and the topic that we are talking about here. As you know, every strategist has got a model, a framework, a map, something that guides them and guides their thought processes. So what is that in when it comes to brand positioning in that category? I have a fast moving product. I wanted to lead that category. I want
Right.
my toothpaste to be the best toothpaste in town for kids.
Exactly.
Something like that. What's the brand positioning framework like? What does that checklist look like?
Yeah, that's a good question, and particularly if you are new to brand positioning or new to marketing even,
Mhm.
um, whether you have inherited a brand and you've come into a new job or you are building a brand as a founder. There are two really classically well-known frameworks that they're not specific to brand positioning, but are often used as the starting point to brand positioning. One of
Okay.
those is the 4 C's, and depends who you ask what the C's stand for, but it's things like the consumer, the customer being the retailer, the person who is going to sell your product, the context, the culture, those types of words, the competitors. And the
Yeah.
4 C's is really about getting a deeper and organized perspective on the space in which you operate,
Yeah.
which is a very important starting point before you can articulate what brand positioning is for your particular brand. Then there is another framework called the 4 Ps, which is used a lot across any number of product categories or business categories, which is typically the product, the price, the promotion, and the placement. And again, it's like the 4 Cs in that it's helping you to synthesize information in a real clear way, but it bullseyes more into what you are offering. Whereas the 4 C's is about the external world, the 4 P's is about how you are bringing your product to market. And those, again, have been used for forever. If you go to business school, even if you're an undergraduate and take a business class, you will hear about those frameworks.
Yeah.
Um, However, what I found in becoming more and more of an expert in brand positioning, and in the 20 years I've worked as a brand owner, and then since then as a teacher, a consultant, and educator on brand positioning, particularly to startups,
Yeah.
what I have found across that time is that it's not quite that simple. And the more that you talk to a brand, the more you realize how much stuff we need to communicate. So it's not as simple as saying, I have this great toothpaste, and it's the best because, let's say, it has the most fluoride of any
Yeah.
other brand in the
Yeah.
market. That's what makes me the best. But
Mm,
that's not the only thing you need to talk about. You also need to talk about probably whitening because it's one of the standards of the category today. You
yeah.
also need to talk about the ingredients that are in there. More and more consumers are looking for cleaner, more recognizable ingredients. You need to talk about efficacy, How well is this actually preventing cavities? Because sure, you could put all the fluoride in there, but does it actually work? You need to
Mm,
talk about the packaging. Is it mess free? Is it small? Is it travel size? And then there's all the behind the scenes stuff. How are you sourcing your ingredients? How is
yeah.
this produced? Are you paying fair wages? Is it sustainable? Are you a Black founder? Are you a woman owned founder? Um, there are all of these stories that are tied to your product, and these two frameworks, 4Ps and 4Cs, it really doesn't let you do that. Those frameworks were sort of built in a time when brand positioning and marketing was a little more simple. There just wasn't as much competition. Consumers were not demanding as much. And so you just didn't have as much to say. So if you are Crest 100 years ago, all you needed to say is it keeps your teeth clean and therefore you don't get cavity.
Mm,
Done. There's not much more to say.
mm,
Well, that's not the world that exists today. And so I've actually developed my own framework that helps you really to think about all of the pieces of the story. Where do they live? Where do they fit? And how do I use them together? And I'll give you an example of a brand I worked with. This is a cocktail company brand.
mhm,
And they came in wanting to work on brand positioning, had a brand positioning statement that was similar to like the 4P structure. We make these delicious drinks. But there was all this stuff that they wanted to say, and they didn't know where to put it. So they wind up with a problem that's called an and also. I sell
mm,
cocktails, they taste delicious, and also, it's a premium product with premium ingredients, and also, it's easy to make because we give you a recipe, and also, and also, and also, it's too many things to say, so my brand fundamentals framework very clearly outlines those components so that you're almost just plugging information in, and the output is very clear on brand positioning. I think combining those 3 things, 4 Ps, 4 Cs, and my brand fundamentals framework
yeah.
gives you best output of what brand positioning can really be. Is that
No, no, yeah, it does help. And as you're speaking there, a, a lot of CPG products keep coming to mind. And,
okay?
and sort of that leads me to the next question here about when you're auditing these brands, right? And trying to see what they've done before. What are some of the top signs, maybe top three, top two, top one, to that you see that shows, yeah, these people could do better. You know, they can be more effective with their brand. What are some of the mistakes that they are making through which they're able to, seek your help? Um, Even me, when I think about, I love commercials. Every Monday, I would post an old commercial, mostly of CPG, but not just CPG, some other, customer or consumer products as well. I would say brands like Dove have really done very well in competing with like the Always brand for like female based stuff. Um, but they are not popular everywhere. You know, they are not popular in the antiperspirant space. If there's a space like that where there is Nivea, and as a long term Nivea user, I used Nivea in Nigeria. I'm here in Canada. I still use them. They are not doing very well, especially when it comes to the antiperspirant space. They've got an incredibly great product. We have cartons of their product in our house because we know we'll use them forever. But I've never, especially, again in that space, I've never seen their marketing or brand or seen anything that sort of jumps at me as well. So we have brands that are doing well in marketing, but maybe other parts of their commercial process is not expanding. But we've also, because they are also as antiperspirant products of Dove that are not very great. But we've seen brands that have great products, but their branding is maybe not as great. At least it's not overwhelming enough. How do you, what are some of those things that prevent brands from achieving that great balance?
Yeah.
Again, that is direct to consumer or, business to customer.
Yeah, yeah, this is a really good question. There are 2 things in there. The first part I wanna just comment on is, it can be really difficult to know from the outside if a brand is nailing their brand positioning or not. It's
Mm,
really hard to know that because you don't know who they're trying to target. So we don't know if they're doing a good job because we don't know if that's what they intended to do. What we can comment on is, well, I see you're trying to talk to this person, but you're obviously saying the wrong thing. In that case, we can digest it. And so I say that to mean for Dove, if they are performing really well in one category, for example, body wash is really a place where they dominate, but they're
Yes.
underperforming in a category like antiperspirants, it's hard to know why it's not working. And you kind of alluded to some of that. Is it the commercial? Perhaps the pricing is off. Maybe they can't produce it effectively. Or it could be positioning. Maybe they're trying to target an audience that is not resonating with their message. And so that's the first point, is hard to know if somebody's doing it right or wrong because you don't know what the
Yeah,
intention is.
product market fit is, yeah.
Yes, we don't know what they're attempting to do. But then there are ways that I think internally, if you actually make it into an organization and you're trying to digest that we are not hitting the business objectives we intended, what are some things that we see that is clearly about brand positioning? One of the first ways is that you're constantly revisiting initiatives, whether that be you're doing advertising, product innovation, you're changing graphics, you're going through the process and you seem to constantly be coming back with the wrong output. The packaging isn't winning, it's not working. The innovation, we had to pull it. The advertising, we spent a bunch of money, but we didn't see the return. Those are the kinds of things that say there's something off about who we are talking to, what we are telling them, and whether they care or not. And those three pieces are something there isn't working. Another one that's similar to that is that people you are working with, whether that's cross-functional partners in R&D or in shopper marketing or externally in ad agency, they keep coming back asking questions. This isn't clear. I know you wanted this, but I don't get these parts. There's something wrong with your brand positioning. If you can't communicate that internally, you definitely can't communicate it externally. And then the last really big one is about their ability to articulate what makes them different. This is probably the biggest one and the biggest like red flag, that teams are often sitting there having long drawn out conversations about what is it that makes us better, especially for established brands.
Yeah.
So a Crest as an example, going back to that, or even a Dove, we have been around for a long time and we've been talking about this and this is what makes us unique, but the world keeps changing. And so now 30, 40, 50 years have gone by and we're like, hey, are we still talking about the right thing? Does the consumer even care about this? All these other brands are saying the same thing we are. How do we stand out in that universe? That's typically the biggest thing. So I have a brand I recently worked with on their brand positioning, a 180-year-old brand. They've been around for a long time and they've gone through brand positioning work over and over because every 10 years or so, the landscape is different. You've got to revisit. And actually, these days, it's more like every 2 or 3 years because so many new products are coming out. And
Yeah.
so that was the conversation I had with them. That was the work that I led with them, is how do we rethink what we are offering to the table? What are we offering a consumer that's better, different than competitors? And that is all about coming back to the consumer. What does the consumer care about? What are they looking for? What they wanted today is not what they wanted 3 years ago. And how do I keep staying on top of that? And knowing who that is. And actually, I want to talk about an episode you recently had. The woman from HP,
Oh,
Sue.
yeah. Yeah, soon. Yeah.
Sue, yeah, and she was talking a lot about this exact topic. Is about just that she called it consumer centric or customer centric.
Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, just being really in tune with what is happening with consumers today, and how that is important, not just generally speaking holistically, but also globally, within a country, within a region, within a country, and just knowing those nuances, it really makes or breaks what a brand positioning really can be. And so I think those 3 points: constantly revisiting, having to clarify briefing, and then not being able to articulate your differentiation, is really the kind of the biggest ones that I see working with clients today.
I like the articulation bit because while you were speaking, I was looking at Dove's and Nivea's websites. And you could see that it's not even the way they categorize their product, with all due respect. maybe which is why I'm still a fan, is the my employers are watching and saying, "What?" You know, it still leaves a lot to be desired. I think in the body care space, I think over time, before now, things started with the ladies. They needed more of those products, and over time, the men category just sort of came out of the shell. And that alludes to your point of looking at what consists constantly changes, right? So what started was the kids, babies, and the ladies, and now the men's category started to shape out. And just looking at this website, I thought to myself, why can't you just classify everything under three categories? You have the men care, women care, baby or kids care. If you want to do ages 5 and above, yes, we use a Dove soap for my 5-year-old. And then in that categorization, you can then go through the body parts of the kids, the body parts of the ladies, the body parts of the adults. But what I'm seeing here is just all over the place. Nivea is using body parts as their category and then mixing that with the gender. Um, Dove is, they have all products and then they have men. It's all over the place. I'm not saying website is a standard for how you
Sure.
do this, but if you are paying millions on brand, then you should be able to consider these things, and just be able to simplify them so that you can, have that product market fit. But yeah, thanks for breaking all of this down, for me onto this question I just asked. Okay, so the next question.
Absolutely. Mm.
Yeah, so the next question, um, it's sort of related to what I was ranting about with the website. How can we have our brand messaging and communication in a way that continues to reinforce the products or the brand's unique positioning? I mean, it's a tool for sure. That we're not gonna say, "Oh, Kathy, tell us the benefits of consistent messaging in brand
Sure.
positioning." I think I want to believe everybody knows that.
I
And if you
hope
don't know
so.
now, you know. Yeah. But how do you do it well? How do you do it in a consistent way whereby your brand message is a reflection of your positioning and it continues to reinforce, that benefit? As we know, fast moving consumer good, we often make a joke from where I come from in Nigeria that, when something is fast, sometimes it's fast in, fast out. There's no loyalty in the space. But so how do you continue to reinforce your character to your customers in a way whereby they're just there with you forever?
Mm.
How does that work?
Yeah, I love this question because it is too often that the conversation about brand positioning and marketing is very myopic
Mm,
to here is a product and here are its benefits. And in doing so, I will create loyalty and I will sell millions of dollars and we're done. And again, that might have been true when Crest started, when Dove and Nivea started a gazillion years ago, that it was that simple. We do not live in that world anymore. And a holistic, not only understanding, but a holistic valuing of a brand is literally what develops that long-term brand equity and that emotional connection with a consumer. And
mm,
if all I am doing is talking to you about effectiveness of a product, you're just missing that next step. And don't misunderstand that effectiveness
yeah,
at whatever the need is. It could be taste, it could be, the whiteness, it can be whatever the offer is you're making. That's critical. Step one.
yeah, yeah,
If I'm not gonna buy something that doesn't taste good if I'm buying it for the taste. But
yeah.
then there are all of the other parts about a brand and a company that play a role. Actually, this is another thing that Sue mentioned in her episode about brand purpose. My fundamentals framework actually starts with purpose. It includes purpose, mission, brand positioning, brand values, and then the brand identity. All of
Mm,
those pieces come together to tell a holistic and complete story about a brand. And while with the exception of brand positioning, some of those other pieces, the consumer just gets little bits of them over time. right?
Yeah.
We're not talking to them about brand purpose every day or all the time. We're not talking about our values, even like our tone of voice. They may not see it, they may not hear it. Um, but they will see those over time. The pieces all need to tie together. That
Yeah.
is the secret. The secret is that this entire holistic story all needs to come back to the same place in order for all of the things you do to be consistent. And the name of the game in building an emotional, long term relationship with a client or with a consumer is consistency. They want to see that really coming back to the same place every time. So I love the use of Dove actually when I talk about brand purpose. So since you're a fan of this space, we can talk about Dove that way.
Mhm.
They very early in the world of brand purpose, they were one of the first to really become a purpose driven brand that was not social mission driven, right? They're not, they may be
Mm.
giving some money away. I don't know if they do or don't. Unlike, say, like Tom's Shoes, which was one of the first that really did giving as part of brand purpose. They don't
Yeah.
really have that kind of model, but they very clearly have a brand purpose and you've seen it over the years in the way they talk about women seeing themselves in a more realistic way and embracing their lives, or rather embracing their bodies in the
Mm.
way that it exists. That's a very clear purpose that's not tied to giving money or volunteering or anything. But
Or
it
CSR.
yeah, but it filters through everything that they do all the way down to a product and what is this product for and does it have a purpose and why does a consumer want this, and that is the secret of that relationship, is that there's something more here than just a transactional product. Yeah, my body needs to be clean, but I also want to feel good about it. I want to know I feel good about this product on the shelf in my shower. And for people who engage with Dove and have that relationship with Dove, that means a lot. And that is how you create that unique space and differentiation at every product level. So whether they have their body washes, they also do shampoos, they do antiperspirants, they have bar soap and liquids. All of the products come back to the same place. That really is the secret to the success is the whole story.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Guys, as you can see, this is probably a unique take on this topic, and I hope it's something that you're learning, especially if you're in this space already. So what we are
Mm.
asking you is to share this episode. It helps out. As you can see, Kathy made reference to another episode because she got access to that episode, either by self-research or someone sharing it with her. So please share with someone else that may really need it. I think it's very, very important in this world of AI. Thank God we're not discussing AI today. The noise is deafening. Woo! So um in this noisy world there's so much going about, and it's important for us to, again, like I said, if you're in that space you might find this extremely useful. I have one more question for you, Kati, and we're looking at, I won't tease the question yet. I have been teasing too many things today. So we're going to go on a quick commercial break, and then the Dots rapid fire, a very hot fire, but I'm sure you'll survive it. And then when we come back, we'll talk about a tactic that we can use that could help our brand positioning, especially in this space. Again, you might be able to use it in any other direct to consumer line in which you are playing. Stay with us, guys. I'm saving the best for the last. We'll be right back. Guys, welcome back. So, like I said, it's the Dots rapid fire. It's three questions. You say the truth and nothing but the truth, Kathy. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
I'm
right,
there.
good. I'm asking this in a very interesting light because it's a brand, it's a great world there. The CPG world. So, what's your favorite marketing metric apart from sales or revenue?
Relevance. Relevance is a metric that measures how much the consumer cares about your brand. Is this something that is top of mind for me? I'm connecting with it. I understand it. I appreciate it. Brand relevance. Super
Interesting.
important.
Interesting. Do you advise companies to run brand surveys to maybe gauge this relevance? I mean, I'm sure there are different other
Absolutely.
tools. Okay.
Yes, to do quantitative and qualitative research in order to understand how much the consumer is actually connecting with the message you're saying. It's super important to keep that finger on the pulse. So most of the larger, more established brands, they do brand trackers that run every quarter. That they're
Mm,
just watching the number on relevance, and if there is a dip, that's a problem. And if you're increasing, you're doing exactly what you need to do. Absolutely, to keep your finger on the pulse of relevance is super important.
yeah. I mean, if Nivea had surveyed me, they would have known that I'm a long-term fan of their deodorants. So anyway,
Mhm.
now you guys know the deodorants I use. Thank God I'm not a celebrity yet. Okay. Okay. Second question. Um, how long do you use social media every day for work?
Um, I am pretty looped into social media, particularly in LinkedIn. So for not for personal, but in LinkedIn. And I try to get on there every day. The truth is that work often takes precedence, so I kind of come and go. But I have a team that helps me execute a lot of my social media. But every day I'm on at least for a couple of minutes just to see what's happening every day.
Uh-huh. Interesting. So under an hour, basically.
Yes, it was under an hour. Yeah, I try not to spend too much time. I also have teenage girls and I try to set the right example. Don't
Yes.
want to be on social
Yes.
media too much.
Mm. I
But at least
sometimes
check in.
pity my daughter. She only uses screens on weekends. Uh,
Great. That's the
but
best way to do it.
it's the best way to do it. Even though that was in our case, we couldn't wait to get back from school because we needed to see Popeyes or Scooby
Wha-
Doo or whatever it is.
Whatever was happening.
Yeah, in the afternoons
Yeah.
and Godzilla and all that. But these days, no.
Well,
From
and we didn't have access to the entire universe on a phone.
Yes, exactly.
Very different.
That's exactly where I was getting at. So
Yes.
yeah,
Thankful.
you need to set the right examples, which makes sense. I'm maybe an hour for me. Sometimes because of that reason, because she's like poking into the screen, and she's like, "Don't worry, Daddy, let me watch. It's not scary." I'm like, "No, you know." So yeah, and
Right.
I don't check my phones at work. Like I'm just zoned in. Uh,
Good.
so anyway, every adult's true life story right there. So we'll see how it goes.
That's right.
Okay,
Exactly.
last rapid fire question. What is your favorite marketing quote?
That's probably the Seth Godin quote. And I don't remember exactly how it goes, but
Mm,
it's something to the point of that you're not supposed to create marketing to sell products. You're supposed to create products that consumers want, right? The
mm,
purpose of the work, which I think is such a big misconception about well, maybe it's not a misconception. I think that's what marketing used to be. And what a lot of people say when you tell them you're a marketer, kind of like people who are lawyers, it's like, oh, marketers, you're here to sell me something.
yeah.
Um, Actually, not the right way to do marketing. The right way to do marketing is to understand you and figure out what you want and what you need and give you that. That's really what the value and the power of marketing. And I know Seth talks a lot about that. But you just need to know your audience. That's your primary job. So
Yeah,
I like
makes
that
sense.
idea.
That,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Um, CPG probably sits at the top of this. The concept of marketing, where you have to enter the share of life of the consumer in order to get their share of wallet. Um, there will be times in your life where you stop using a particular product, not because it's not great, it's just that, again, it's not just right for you at that time of your life. And there are many products like that. But here is where my concern is. Many brands don't even maximize that lifetime, as it were, right? As well as use the product from my mid-30s to retirement, how can a product maximize that timeline, at that lifetime, to say between this time and this time that this person is allowed to use this particular product, every time he thinks about that problem, it is my brand that will solve it, right? Like I said, too many times here, this video is not sponsored by them, but you're welcome to sponsor it. You know, long as I'm adult, as I am an adult, I might be using Nivea for antiperspirant deodorant. Um, but how do you tell brands to say, look, we know that CPG, there's not enough loyalty in the space. Sometimes, your friend tells you something, and because we have a culture of obedience, um, personally, I would say, this generally, let alone, diverse people. There's just that culture of obedience. You don't want to do your research, is what somebody says. And then you change whatever you're using. So how can a brand be that loyal? How can you create so much brand loyalty that even if people come and try to confuse you, not convince you to use something else, you still stick with the brand? What are some of those marketing tactics? What are some of those communications that can be used to just continue to engage the customer? To say, we are here with you all the day or in every way. And you could answer this question from a broader perspective. Let's say if I'm very sentimental and, you know, Nivea gets into some scandal, I might say I will stop using them because of that scandal. That is keeping loyalty as a broad level, but there's also keeping loyalty at the product level. However way you are communicating through your partners, to do those kinds of things. How does it work? How does it work? How can that be done? Especially in the offline world,
Mm,
where I mean, if you do Instacart these days, maybe Nivea might be able to get access to my data that I bought Nivea through Instacart, and that might help. But not everybody uses Instacart. Not everybody uses Amazon. Some people literally go to the store as a means to exercise, to buy these things. Uh,
mm,
you need to know about them and you need to keep them. So,
mm.
how do you do that? I spending this much time on the question because I know it might be a bit of a tricky one.
Yeah, this is a excellent question. And the question that is forever haunting the dreams and the spirits of brand managers around the globe. And will always be that.
Yeah.
And there are actually two parts to this. There are two parts to the question, and therefore two answers.
Mm.
Um, the the easiest one to answer is the second part, which is that you're kind of talking a little bit even about tactics, specific things to do. And that question is quote unquote unanswerable because it depends on everything. It
Yeah.
depends what year are you talking about? 1923 versus 2023? Are you talking about 2053? It all depends, right? Because tactics evolve with culture. Um, and so I'll leave that one alone to say marketing experts that when I say marketing experts, I mean not brand positioning experts, but those that work on getting your message to the right audience.
Tactics out there, yeah.
Answer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
On the other side of that is the strategic question, which is where I really live and operate with my clients. And
Mhm.
there's a very simple answer to that, and that is staying as close as possible to your consumer, as close as possible. Your relationship with Nivea now exists based on the product assortments they have today and based on you as a human adult in the world today.
Yeah.
10 years from now, you will need something different from your antiperspirant than you do today.
Yeah.
And I can't predict what that is, but what you needed 10 years ago is different than what you needed now.
Yeah.
Now you may be more attuned and alert to, is there aluminum in it? Is it recyclable? Like there are other things you're thinking about that you weren't thinking about when you first bought them. The
Yeah.
hardest thing to do is to get the consumer to buy it the first time. The easiest thing to do is to keep them coming back,
Mm.
which sounds crazy, that it would be easy. It's not easy, but it's the easiest. And the only thing you need to do is stay close to them. What do you want? What do
Yeah.
you need? How's the product working for you today? Do you need it to be different? You're never going to stop them from trying other products. That
Yeah.
shouldn't even be a goal. It's inevitable. What you want to be able to do is know, what are they trying? What did they like or dislike about what they've tried? And what does that mean for my product, so that I can continue to bring Dots in? That Dots is always going to say, well, I tried that. I tried that. But you know what? I'm going back to the one that I love, and I'm going to stay with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do that is to get close and personal with Dots. How do you use the deodorant? When do you use it? How does it feel when you put it on versus the end of the day? Have you shared it with other people? How do you talk about it? The secret to your success is staying as close as possible to your to the brand, the consumer that already loves you. How do you stay close to them and give them what they want?
I
Yeah.
love that. And I think from a tactical perspective, folks like Costco are doing a great job with their tasting
Yes.
kiosk. Yes. I think that could be leveraged as a very great channel to say, not just to reintroduce a product, which I think is what is mostly used for these days. I mean, I was making a joke with my sister. I was yesterday. We go to Costco's on most Sundays and say, you know, I'm not I'm not making fun of people, but I am sure that there will be people here who will just go all around and have a well-made lunch from just tasting all the food.
That's me sometimes. I know I'm going there for 4 things, but
Okay.
then I'm having all these samples. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
have a nice lunch.
maybe just have a nice lunch through on the little spoons around
Sure.
there. But I think it can be a retention mechanism. Just working through partners in the B2C space, working through partners to say, maybe somebody at the checkout, just give them a flyer whenever you see them with the particular product to say, we see you bought this product. Here's a flyer from the company, and you can scan this QR code and reach out to them online, and then you can collect some more demographic information. And for example, like I said before, they can then know that someone like me, is somewhere in the world and they have hardcore data about me, loving Nivea and all that. But yeah, you staying close is, I think, is probably is just the key thing.
Is the
Um,
baseline. Yeah, and actually, before we move off of
yeah,
that, I'll just touch
right,
quickly on
yeah,
your
sure.
comments and about the simple, singular idea of sampling, which is what you're talking about. Sampling and product trial
Yeah,
has 1,000 tactical extensions. You've
yes,
probably gotten the coupons at the register. There's a company called Catalina that's usually well known for that. So you scan the code, you scan the QR. I'm sorry, the UPC code
yeah,
triggers a coupon.
yeah,
At sampling events, they're often QR codes. Uh, do this, and we will send you a coupon. You
yeah,
can also connect them into your social media. You can take live video while you're there, upload that to social media. You can have marketing materials at the sampling that provides them not only a coupon, but further information on how to use this. Here are
yeah, sure.
recipes on how to use the product. So even just that, that's why I was saying that we can come up with 1,000 ways to engage, because you've only identified one tool,
Yeah,
sampling at retail. And
yeah,
that alone has so many ways. But a lot of that comes back to the first point. How do you re engage with that audience? What does Dots like? Dots likes to try products. Great. Let's make sure that Dots is trying the product wherever that I engage with him.
yeah,
Dots loves to see fun social media reels. Great. Let's do some social media reels, right? So it still comes back to, what is it that you love and that you like that helps us engage with you in order to execute effectively, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation. So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of minutes over, but that's always a good sign that this is
Right.
gonna go viral. Wink, wink, social media.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Even the sun rays is just so happy and being shining on my face so high here. So thank you so much for sharing this. Where can people learn more from you and this whole subject of brand positioning?
Yeah, absolutely. So for a lot of my clients, the way we begin is with a brand positioning audit, where I will really look at where your brand is today. And I've actually created a little quiz that will help you quickly determine, do I need an audit? Do I need to think more about brand positioning? And you can find that on my website, which is also where you can connect with me. It is theclaritywizard.com/podcast. You can find some free materials there. You can get to the quiz itself. And then my business vehicle of choice is LinkedIn. Pretty active there. You can find videos and content from me about brand positioning. And I'm sure that'll be in the show notes. But you can find me under my name, Kathy Guzmán Galloway. I'll be on LinkedIn and happy to connect with anyone who wants to be part of that CPG ecosystem that I've built in my career. Come join me.
Yeah, absolutely. Please follow Kathy if you want to increase revenue and decrease your risk.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, more episodes like this are on my website, dotslovesmarketing.com. This is how we do it. I hope this one has been very, very useful. If you also want to subscribe, just go to Apple, Spotify, or YouTube and just Google. Sorry, I said Google. Search marketing leadership. Well, you could also Google in means of search marketing leadership on any of those platforms, and feel free to subscribe as well. I'd like to thank Des Krieg. I'd like to thank Content Alliance and Listen Network for helping us deliver quality episode at scale, which is almost impossible. These are tailored, well-researched episodes where we try to ask uncommon questions to common topics. Till next time, guys, I'll see you and connect with us.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Dots Loves Marketing. There will be links to any resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.